Hello friends! Welcome back to the second part of our guide for Jad. We are going to be covering on this part how to get there and the monsters that you'll be facing in the fight caves. So a number of different things to go through on this part of the guide. First things first, how are we going to get there? There's two ways that I know of to get there. One is with an Amulet of Glory, and two is with a minigame teleport. I will show you both. You're basically just going to want to rub your Amulet of Glory and then head over to Karamja in the first option here. Once you're in Karamja, you will appear on the kind of northeastern part here where the symbol is, and you're going to run over to this Karamja dungeon right here. So we're going to head over there now. Woo! Now once you go down the rope here, you're going to see a cave entrance that looks kind of bizarre. It's got like these red lines coming out of it. That's where you're going to go, is inside of this cave entrance. Once you are here, the fight cave pits are right here on the mini map. So this little red dot here is where you're going to want to go. You'll notice just north of that is the bank for the Tazr area. I feel like I said that wrong. Czar? Anyways, head over here. There's a bank, so if you need to load up your character, you can do so at the bank before you head into the actual fight cave. So this is the first way to get here. You'll notice this is the cave right here, and this guy at the outside of the cave is who will give you your fire cape when you beat it. You can also exchange your fire cape here to get another chance at the pet if you don't pull the pet and you have multiple fire capes. So you can go ahead and give it back to this guy and you get another roll at the pet, which reduces the odds on getting Jad pet. The second option is to go over here into your mini game tab, and what you're going to do is select the grouping tab, go into select an activity and scroll down to Tazr Fight Pit, click on it and then hit teleport. Your character's going to do a nice little teleportation animation. Buffering. And then you'll appear over here on the west side. So this little red indicator is where the minigame teleport will take you, and this is how you come through in the cave. So keep in mind the minigame teleport has a 20-minute cooldown timer on it. So if you've used it recently, you may not be able to use it again, and that's why I showed both options, because you might have to use the glory and run over if you happen to teleport and need to teleport again. So those are your two options to get to the Tazr Fight Pit. They're both going to work great, so use those to get here. Now, moving into the monsters. There are a number of different monsters to talk about here, so I am going to do my best to cover them and probably throw up some examples here in the video. We will start with the first monster, which is a bat. I will also link all of these monsters in the show notes, so you can definitely take a look at them there as well. That's going to help you with kind of learning them, and then it'll get a lot easier as you go along. So you can take a look at that if you need to. I will go through each one here as well. So the first monster is what I call the bat. I'm not going to call them their actual names because I honestly don't know how to pronounce half of them. The first one is a level 22. It's a bat, and you want to kill this guy pretty quickly. The reason you want to kill the bats as soon as you can is because every time they hit you, whether or not they deal damage, they are going to take a prayer point away from you. Prayer points are going to be incredibly important during your grind through the fight caves, so if you don't have enough prayer, you're going to struggle. So killing the bats early is super important, otherwise you will get messed up by their prayer draining effect. They're not hard to kill, they have not very much HP, I believe 10 HP, so you for the most part can one-hit these guys, but make sure you prioritize them. They are a higher priority monster, or trap them behind other monsters so they can't get to you, deal with the other monsters, and then kill them off. Just make sure that they're not hitting you, because they will drain your prayer. The next monster that you're going to have to worry about is going to be the Blobs. I call them Blobs because that's literally what they look like. They look like big blobs with arms. They are melee-based fighters, and they are low priority. They don't hit very much. I think they've got like a max hit of 7 or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's 7. They basically don't do any damage, so they're not really worth dealing with until you deal with the other ones. They're pretty low on the priority list. You can get them stuck behind other monsters, but even if they do get to you, the odds that they're going to do very much damage is pretty low. If you have really low defense, they may actually hurt you, but they're pretty weak. They're very weak, honestly, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. The only other thing to note about these guys is they do have a ring of recoil effect, which means if you attack them with melee, they will reflect 1 point of damage back, regardless of the damage inflicted. So these are best dealt with mage or range, and not melee, because I guess they could slowly drain your health throughout the fight. But I mean, really, these guys are like not a concern at all. I barely even register the blobs. They're pretty dumb. The only thing is that once you kill the level 45, it is going to split into 2 level 22s. So it's going to turn from a purple guy into 2 smaller little orange guys, and then you'll have to kill those as well. Those guys have 10 HP, so they're not hard to kill. They're just like the bats. But just keep in mind that once you kill the level 45, it is going to split into 2, and then you're going to have to kill the 2 smaller blobs. The next monster that you're going to have to tackle is going to be the Rangers. Now, these guys will start to hurt you. Earlier on, when you're just fighting them, I do recommend prayer flicking your range prayer, or, in my case, I just turn my range prayer on if I need to. At my level, they don't really hurt me that much, but if you're a lower level, these guys can stack up some pretty aggressive damage. They have a maxed 14 hit with their ranged. They do also have a melee attack, so if you stand close to them, they will punch you in the face. So if you're, protecting from range, stand back. They will only ever try and range you unless you're close to them. If you're close to them, they'll try and punch you. Keep in mind, they have a very high range, so these guys are a high priority, especially when the mage is out. When the mage is out, you're going to have to keep your protect from magic prayer on at all times, which means that these guys can dish significant damage if you don't take care of them quickly. So when the mage is out, for sure, these guys need to be a high priority, because they have a huge range of 15 tiles. They can hit you from very far away, and with a maxed hit of 14, they can do significant damage if you don't get rid of them. So make sure you prioritize these guys, take care of them as soon as possible. The next monster that we need to look at is the melee healers. So these guys are starting to get up there, combat level 180. They show up after you kill the 2 rangers, then you'll start getting meleeers, and then you go through the whole cycle again. Right around wave 15, that's when you'll first see the meleeers. Now, the meleeers can hit pretty hard. They can hit you for a max hit of 25, so I recommend using Italy Rock. Now, what is Italy Rock and why am I talking about it? Italy Rock is inside of the fight cave, and it's right here on my map. It's this little boot looking shape. It kind of represents the same look of the geographical topography of Italy. That's why it's called Italy Rock. The important thing with this rock is there's 2 spots right here and right over here. I have the tiles marked in the cave, so don't worry, I will show you that later, that you can stand on, and the monsters will actually get stuck on the other side, which means that you can position them in such a way that they cannot hit you. That's going to be important for these meleeers. What I recommend that you do is position the meleeers on one side of Italy Rock so that you can kill them without having to pray. So that way you can just kill the meleeers. The other reason it's important is because if they are within melee distance, even if they're not hitting you, they are still going to heal themselves and the other monsters. So if they can't hit you, they cannot use their healing spec. If they can hit you, they're going to also heal themselves and the other monsters. So highly recommend that you safe spot them so they can't use their healing, and so that they can't hit you with their 25s if you're not protecting from melee. The next monster on the list is the one that you really need to be careful of. It shows up at wave 31, and this is the Major. It's a big guy, it's got a very hard hit, can hit you for a 52 with magic and a 54 with melee, so stay away from them. It will only try and melee you if you're within its distance, so if you stay back, it's only ever going to try and shoot you with magic, which is why you just keep your protect from magic on and you'll take 0 damage. These guys can be a pain to deal with, so I recommend killing everything else off that can hurt you and leaving this guy till the end and then killing them, that way you're not worried about it, because if you have Protect from Magic on, they're not going to do any damage to you anyways, and they're only going to shoot you from a distance. So I would literally ignore these and kill off the Rangers, the healers, and the prayer bats before I dealt with the magic guy here. The only other thing that's important to note is that at some point later on, 62 is the wave, there's going to be 2 of them. There's going to spawn 2 of the magic healers. One is going to be red, the other one is going to be orange. The orange one will indicate where Jad is going to spawn. So if you have orange one, make sure you take a note of that. The other way that you can know where Jad is going to spawn is on wave 3. Wherever the blob, the very first blob on wave 3 spawns, that's where Jad is also going to spawn. So if you happen to miss that, later on wave 62, you are going to see a red major and an orange major. I've already talked about dragging the mage in my last video, so just make sure you watch that part. But wherever the orange one spawns, that is where then Jad will spawn on wave 63. So that's the important notes on the major. And that's pretty much it, with the exception of Jad. I am not going to go through Jad on this part of the video. I am going to do a Jad only, Jad specific video, and I will cover Jad and the mini healers in that video there. So this one is all about all the other monsters that you'll see in the fight caves. Hopefully this will help you deal with them when they show up. Honestly, they're not too complex. When the Rangers are out, prioritize them. When the healers are out, trap them on Italy Rock so they can't hurt you or heal the other monsters, and when the majors are out, protect from magic at all times. Don't ever turn it off while the majors are out, or it could be the end of your fight. And that is pretty much all that you need to know. If you have any questions about any of these guys, throw your questions in the chat. More than happy to answer them, walk you through anything, and yeah, I hope this helps you out. Alright, good luck guys. We'll see you in the next section.